Hi folks, Ken from the North Branch Nature Center, and we got another project for you today. Another woodworking project. Well, more bushcraft skills in woodworking. We're going to make some tongs, some Greenwood tongs for picking up things that you may be cooking over the fire. If you are into coal burning spoons, burning the bowl out of a spoon, you can actually use these tongs to pick up the hot coals and place them on the spoon that you're working on. So it's a very useful tool, and that's what we're going to make today, right?
Right.
Got my helper with me again today, and you may also see our dog Earl running around in the background. He's getting some fresh air as well. So here's what you need for this project. You definitely need a knife, a fixed blade knife like this one. You need either a saw like this, or in this case I used some loppers. All right, you need that to cut your branches. All right, you also need some string, and you need a piece of wood to baton your knife with. Now, for the wood, we are using a silver maple sapling that popped up inside one of our flower beds, and it's gotten a couple years on it before I really noticed it and decided to take it out. So I already cut it down. This is it here. You can see it's silver maple with the deep grooves, the big sinuses on that leaf there. But you can use any wood, really. Any wood that's, so long as it's green, which means it's still alive. You peel back the bark here, you can see it's still kind of got that greenish color in there. All the sap is still flowing through this tree. It's still alive, all right? It's not dried out and brown. That's important because you want to have some flex in the wood. You don't want it to be really brittle and snap. And you can peel this if you want. You don't have to. This time of year, the bark is peeling really well because the sap is flowing and it's producing those new leaves. You see how it's coming off in big strips like this? You could leave it on there as well. And that'll eventually dry out and give a different kind of almost leathery look, kind of like this pine bark here that's dried out. But I decided to peel this since it's already kind of peeling off. Now you do have to be careful if you do peel it like this because it is wet, which can be a little dangerous if you're using a knife on this because it's slippery and can slip in your hands. So I'm just gonna take it in my shirt. You can use a towel. I'm gonna try to rub as much of that excess moisture off as possible, so it's not as slippery. It's a little better. That's gonna be good enough. I'll be able to have a good handle on that. So you need a piece of wood that's about a foot long or so. You can go like 14, 15 inches maybe. This one's about a little over a foot, maybe 13 inches. And you want it at least the thickness of your pinky finger, at least on one end. You don't want to go too much thinner than that, just because you want to be able to have enough surface area to pick something up. You also need a shorter piece to act as a wedge. So I'm going to take the rest of our tree here. I'm going to cut a piece off just a couple inches long. All right, safety circle. You mind stepping back a little bit? Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
All right. Put it down on our table there. Hold it there. I'm going to go a little shorter than that. Right there should be good. You got to be careful with cutting little things. Sometimes they like to move around on you. Done cutting, I'll close my saw. Safety circle is closed. Thank you. You may sit down again. All right. The bark is peeling on this already, so I'm going to go ahead and peel it all off. Awesome. So we have our two pieces of wood. Now, here's what the tricky part, and potentially dangerous part. You need to split this wood about, maybe halfway, just a little touch over halfway down. And that's going to serve as the two kind of arms of your tongs for picking things up. This stick, I want to split it on this end, I think. Yeah, I want to split it on this end. It's got a little piece going off here where there's a branch, so I need to carve that piece off first. So I'm going to take my knife, safety circle. Thank you. See that piece right there that I'm going to cut off? All right, I'm just going to carefully, because the wood is wet, make sure that your fingers are all behind the blade. Never cut towards yourself. Okay. My hand is back here on the stick. I'm cutting up on the very tip of it. I'm just taking very controlled little cuts. I'm just kind of turning my wrist. You can even lock the base of your thumb into your knuckles of your other hand so this hand isn't free and flopping around. Alright, that's cut off. You can see it's much more rounded there now. And there's already a natural crack forming right down the middle. You might be able to see it there, you might not. And this is the tricky part. You want to have your wood on a very stable surface. Alright? Then you're going to put your knife on top of the wood. Now, I say this part's tricky because you're working with a thin piece of wood and your hand has to support this, right? So your hand for a little bit is going to be right next to the blade, or yeah, you want to try to have it just right next to the blade. You don't want to have it underneath like this, because if your knife slips off, it could hit your hand and cut your hand. So, with the tip of your finger, working on a very secure surface here. You're going to hold it right there on the side. You're going to put your knife blade right up there, right over the middle of it. Being very careful not to cut yourself. I recommend wearing a glove on your off hand if you have access to a good glove. Just checking, make sure I'm in the middle. I want to adjust a little bit. Alright. Transfer hands, and now I'm going to baton a little bit. And remember, you only baton on a fixed blade knife, so you don't break your knife. And I'm going to baton very gently. And you can see the cracks wanting to go off to the right hand side here, my right, your left. So I'm going to adjust my knife a little bit, try to guide that crack down the center more. Okay, try to straighten it out a little bit.
Like that.
What's that?
Kind of like, are we doing that?
Kind of like that, yeah. So now I'm going more down towards the middle of the stick. You want to keep watching that. And guide your knife down there and guide that crack. So it's going down the center of your stick. And you see how lightly I'm tapping on here. Very, very lightly, right? Keep going down.
Baton.
Check your work along the way. Still wanting to splinter off to the right, so I got to adjust my knife, tilt it a little bit. So you can hear it sounds a little bit different there. You can see right there. Oh, I want you to be careful on my safety circle, okay? You can see right there, there's a knot where there was an old branch. So it's hitting that knot now and doesn't want to go any further. So I'm going to be really careful batoning right here. Chances of it breaking and splitting off are pretty good right there. I'm past that knot. Still wanting to split off to the right. Alright, there we go. Definitely through that knot. And that's probably good right there. So not putting my hand underneath there, right? Not underneath the knife blade. I'm just going to grab the top of it. I'm going to wrap my knife out of there a little bit. There we go. And sheath my knife. Alright, so we got a split there, right? Here's where your other stick comes in. You're going to slide it up into that split. And that's going to hold the split open so that you can then use these like tongs and grab things and pick them up. Now, you don't want to push it too far in because that split is going to run it right out the back. So what I'm going to do with my string, I'm going to find the end of it, there we go. You can use twine. I'm using some yarn here. It doesn't need to be super strong for this purpose. I'm going to tightly wrap at the end of that crack. You can see the crack right there. I'm going to wrap my yarn right around there, and you want to wrap it around itself a few times to lock it in place. And you want to do as tight as possible without breaking your string. And that's going to create some pressure to make sure that crack doesn't run out the back. You see what I'm doing? See how I'm wrapping it around there?
Yep.
You want to give it a couple wraps? Come on in.
Sure.
Grab that and wrap it around. Actually, you hold it and I'll turn it. So hold this tight. Hold the string tight. I'm going to turn it towards me. Nice. Hold it a little tighter. Pull on it a little bit. Pull against me. There you go. Perfect. You're just going to keep wrapping that up really tightly all the way up to your smaller piece of wood. All right? You almost there?
Yep.
Almost there. And then you're going to go right up behind there.
I can't wait to use these.
Can't wait to use these? What are you going to use them to pick up?
Oh no, I'm going to test them out.
You're going to test them out on some different things? Alright, so we are right up against that piece of wood that we slid down in there, right?
Get the yarn, get the yarn, get the yarn.
Oh, you're going to put it back on the table? Thank you. It's under my leg. There we go. Thank you. Alright, so now we need to lock that in place. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to wrap in front of that smaller piece of wood all the way around, and I'm going to go over to the other side like so. Alright? Crossing over. I'm going to wrap all the way around it that way too. And then I'm going to go back on the back side and give it another wrap. Keep doing that a few times, a few different times, just to help lock that in place. Alright, going back and forth, wrapping that around. Give it a turn. You can see I rotated it like this now. So I'm wrapping crossways, I'm creating an X on either side now. Alright? Do that a few times, and then you're going to give a couple turns in front on top of that to hold all that in place too.
When do I use those?
And 4 or 5 turns. Safety circle. Alright, I'm going to take my knife out and I'm going to cut the yarn. So I have a few inches left over. You got 4 or 5 inches left over? What do you think?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, about 5 inches left over. So then you're just going to tie it off. Alright? Do a couple little knots there, little half hitches, and that will hold it in place.
Yep. Can't wait to try these out.
Can't wait to try these out. Alright. There we go. Tie that off real good.
Did that.
And I'm going to, you have a little bit hanging over, so I'm going to take my knife out again. Safety circle. Thank you.
I'm out.
You are out. I'm going to cut that little bit of tag off. Alright.
Safety circle closed.
Safety circle closed. And now we have some Greenwood tongs to pick things up with. You want to give it a try?
Yeah.
Bring it over here so they can see. I'm going to put a dandelion leaf on the table. You pick that dandelion leaf up. I'm going to pinch it together. Awesome. There we go. And we have some tongs. I want to thank you guys all for watching this, and good luck making your Greenwood tongs. Have a good one.